Slowest book club ever. That's what I'm thinking. That's what's coming. That's what's here in a sense. So I had this dream about a month ago. It was October 17th, which I think is interesting because I lived in California on October 17th, 1989. And that was a very significant day in my life because my mom had passed away 3 weeks earlier. And October 17th was when the huge earthquake hit the Bay Area and the bridge broke and like all that crazy stuff happened. And I remember just how freaked out I was. I'd never in my life been scared of an earthquake. Like that was just normal. But it I just remember that day because I'd lost my mom and we're in the hallway riding this thing out, and watching the truck thinking it's gonna fly into the neighbor's yard and hearing all these things, including pictures I had of my mom in my room, like crashing from the shelves onto the floor and breaking. And uh that all came back to me when I woke up from this dream that I had on October 17th last month. So, what's interesting though is just the significance that I feel about the date and then what gift I was given in this dream. So, I am experimenting. I wrote a blog. I'm going to kind of read it. I usually read pretty well though, so you're not bored out of your mind. But what I wanted to do was combine this this idea from the dream with who I am as a dreamer. So I wanted to share that back in February, I had a hand reading with Itzhak Biri, Itzhak, Itzhak Biri, in February this year. And I wasn't expecting to have one, but I am so glad he gave me this reading. I've been reading hands for 12 years and had never had, it was 13 months, 14 months, I can't remember, 13 to 15 months of training. And nobody ever said this to me in the training. And I've been reading hand for 12 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like telling me so much about myself. I was so grateful. And I felt so nourished, and his interpretation of the lines in my hands and other aspects of the physicality of my hands and his perspective. And what he said was that I am a woman. He said to me, "You are a woman who is married to God." And that hit me so profoundly because spiritual intimacy has always been a need that I felt. And I remember even when I was 9 years old, craving a deep sense of yearning to feel close to God. And I didn't even really know what that meant. It's so interesting because although I was technically Catholic and then we had other aspects of Christianity in the family, it wasn't something that we attended and that was talked about very much. But I needed and felt this desire to feel close to God. And so to have him say, "You are a woman who is married to God," and then he explains more, just really stuck out to me. He said, "You are here to serve God or a big idea. Your life is about serving God, idea, healing, making other people's lives better, but also to be able to retreat and not do all that. It's a gift and an obligation to do alone time. You are here to wear God." Now, keep in mind, I'm not the only person with these lines and markings in the hands. But for me, it was just so significant. And in the human design system, I'm a 3-5 profile with my conscious personality sun being 11. And so that's the idealist or the one who gets lots of ideas. They're big ideas. So we have lots of ideas. Not all of them are meant to run with. But my point is, I used to be ridiculed for my idealism. and my idealistic suggestions about how to solve problems, how to move forward with things, given that I were in charge. I admit, I know I shouldn't be in charge. But I do have good ideas that I think should be on the table of options of ideas. And I realize now that that is a gift I bring to the table of options that is given to me from God. And that, of course, we may not be able to reach that idealistic idea that I might have, but to just be able to think about it, to consider it, will expand consciousness, expand perspective, expand other people's creative ideas and experiences to come up with a great solution. It's like a spark, I guess you could say, to ignite a higher level of possibilities. So, with that, I have thought about the slowest book club ever because of this dream. And here's the dream. I'm living, I'm at a lively, bustling event in a community park with green grass, wooden picnic benches and tables, and a huge, take up a huge spot projection screen. It's a white projection screen that you would see at an IMAX theater or I guess a movie theater, but it was really big. So I'm thinking IMAX. But there was a stanza from a poem on it, and it said, "Oh, Starry Night," but it was a poem. But in the dream, my head saw flashed before me Van Gogh's painting. And I thought that was really curious because I only know Van Gogh's painting called "Oh, Starry Night." And in the dream, I'm like, huh, interesting. The local nuns hold this community book club regularly. I know this in the dream, and they decided to play at a little contest of no consequence just for fun to see who can guess the title and author of this stanza of poetry. The adults and children are having a great time, and I can tell they've been potlucking at this community book club for years. All the families seem to know each other quite well and feel very close with one another. The winner of the poetry contest is celebrated by everybody with great cheers and laughter and kudos, and no prize of any monetary significance is given. It's just good times. I noticed someone asking the nuns questions like an interview. You've been holding this community book club for the last 14 years. Do you think you'll ever stop holding book club? I see one of the nuns working at the event as usual, but when she realizes she's been doing this the past 14 years, she has a bit of a negative perspective at first that she keeps to herself. But somehow I know, as the dream observer, what she's thinking. I never thought I'd be holding community book club for 14 years. I never thought this is what I'd be doing with my life as a nun. Somehow thinking she would have been doing something bigger or something more direct or more impactful in the world than holding a local community book club. But as soon as the nuns were asked if they would ever stop holding book club, all of the other nuns immediately replied, "Never! Books are what our boots are made of." And I saw nun boots flash through my head, like these black nun boots, old-fashioned style. In the moment that phrase is declared, "Books are what our boots are made of." And they were so happy about it. Even the negative nun feels her energy shift back into her mission as a nun, a woman who is married to God. Books are how they share their message of God, their message of faith. I can see and feel the nuns' history and success and their community book club in the park. I see all good books are in the book club, not just their Bible. They actually don't even read the Bible, they read the books. The good books and the good vibes from the books they experience together build the good vibes of the entire community, bringing people closer together and closer to God, whether or not they know it. The intention is to really come together and build their faith. And they have this love and this bond of the community that helps build everyone's faith in their personal higher power. And the goodness of their fellow human beings, and I wake up. So I wonder to myself, is this some sort of dream book club? Like, is this my next step? Do these nuns represent me in some way? Nuns are women who are married to God, and my hands reveal that same concept for me. So I continue to journal out all the symbols and contemplate and ask myself questions. Should this be a free community service rather than the paid mastermind I'd had in my head about a book that I wrote? Will this be weekly? Will this be monthly? And seriously, is there really a poem with Van Gogh's title? And so that was actually the easiest question for me to answer. Because remember, I had the dream October 17th and now it's November 14th. I've been contemplating and steeping in this dream and journaling and deciding so many things the last month. But this question about Oh Starry Night was easy to answer. Yes, The Starry Night by Anne Sexton. So here's what I know about myself. I'm living every day to honor my dreams, heal people when called upon to do so, and to leave a legacy of love, healing, and wisdom for my family. Spirit, God, Source, the universe, all of the names we ascribe to our higher power, they all know this about me, right? So living my day to honor my dreams means that I do the necessary interpretations and contemplations of the dream, and then I take an action plan based on the guidance or medicine that the dream lodge delivered to me. Then, if I need more depth of clarity or healing, I go on drumming journeys. This dream took a few. This journey may be the only action that spirit is suggesting, but usually the types of actions I feel inspired to take based on my dreams are literally to write books, to call the friend, to write the blog, to take that herb, to heal a client in a specific way, booking myself a healing session of my own, right? Taking my 6-year-old grandson to the crystal shop to pick out his helping stone. You know what I'm saying, right? These are the actions we take based on the messages or healings we receive in our dreams. So I notice my ability to remember my dreams will wane if I fall behind on the actions I know I'm supposed to take. It's kind of like a backlog of homework the universe is giving me. So I hit my journal, I'm reading it, it calls me back, and then I'm like, okay, that's the one. This is what I'm going to be working on. And then my dream time opens up again and starts revealing things to me that I can remember and move forward with. So I would also like to know, I've created a Facebook group where you could comment if you would like. The link is down below. But I'd love to know what you know about yourself, that you know the entire universe knows about yourself and how you're living your life. I'd love to know, how do you live your days to honor your dreams? And a couple of ways I'm honoring this dream is obviously I wrote a blog, I'm making this video, and I did decide to go ahead and hold, for now, I am holding a free community shamanic support group slash dreamtime club slash spiritual book club. I want to make it very clear that we will never be rushing through a book nor forcing ourselves to read one book a month. Nobody's required to be there every week. Nobody's required to stay the whole time. The way I imagine that we'll be reading a book is we will read a chapter per week at the most, depending on how long or short the chapter is. But also what's in that chapter. If it's a lot of really deep, inspiring, like kind of change your perspective stuff, we may want to take time with a shorter chapter that takes the whole week. And I imagine that as we read these spiritual books that help us contemplate our own lives and how we're choosing to hold beliefs and live our lives. And I imagine that our dreams are going to give us guidance as well and kind of help us move through the book in a really organic way. So organic, inspired, you take it. And I imagine that as we read them and live our lives and think about our goals and our soul's purpose, that the Dreamtime medicine is going to support us all the way through that. And so we can come to these meetings and bring our dreams and talk about them. And so, like in this dream, it's a potluck, right? So, the potluck aspect of the dream, bringing the dream into this reality, that potluck aspect means that because it's online, we're not giving actual food to each other or beverages, right? But each person brings something of value, something they can share with the group. So that would be your questions, your insights, your dreams, your ability to connect with other people, to connect with us, to how you incorporate what you bring and what you consume in your waking life. Meaning, how are you allowing this community vibe to support your personal growth and your spiritual growth and your soul's purpose? So we all want to know it. We want to know. We want to support each other and we want to celebrate each other. And remember, I'm a 3-5 profile in human design. And the 3 aspect, part of what that means is that I'm an experimenter. So this means that I go with the flow of change. So as I experiment with life and with this group, we are all going to bring together what's working, what isn't working, reevaluate. What do we want to do moving forward, right? So we learn, reevaluate, possibly redirect. So a great example is to start, we'll be meeting on Mondays, named after and ruled by the moon. Moon's Day is a deep, ethereal, receptive energy. Grandmother Moon energy lends herself to magic and mysticism related to nurturing, introspection, intuition, and relaxation. And I think it's interesting also what's coming up for me is I had another dream where my grandmother, who passed away in 1987, but I had this dream in the last couple of months. Part of that dream, she said that I need to eat more. And I was like, are you sure? Anyway, it was really funny. But when I woke up, I realized what she meant was I need to feed myself more spiritually. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to do that? I already spend so much time meditating, so much time, listening to spiritual things on a podcast or reading spiritual books or praying. Like, how can I possibly eat more? And this group for me is one of those things. I believe it will nourish me and nourish you. So there we go. There's one of the ways that I know my grandmother is helping me and guiding me. And there were other beautiful messages in that dream that I'm really going to make a time to write about those later because I think it'll be so helpful to so many people. So the other thing that we're experimenting with this particular book club group is I live in Arizona and I'll be hosting this online community Sacred Dreamers book club. It'll be 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Why? Why in the world a Monday in the middle of the day? Because I wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning every single day. And that means that I go to bed really, really early. I meditate at 7, maybe 8. And then, like, that's an hour. And then I go to bed. And so I am just not able to really stay awake in so far and feel capable of holding space that late at night when I'm like ready to drift off, right? Plus, the lighting at night is absolutely horrible. So I'm not even sure you'd be able to see my face. I bought a LED light. That thing makes me look like a zombie. So I'm not sure yet, but we're going to experiment with this. Like I said, if you can't show up for the whole thing, it's fine. If you need to leave early, it's fine. If you're late, it's fine. All of it's fine. And I'm going to post the replays. So if you don't want to be seen or heard, you just use those buttons on the bottom left corner of the Zoom meeting to keep yourself muted and keep your video off. If you're fine with being seen and heard, go ahead and open that up and, click the button that says you're okay with um, the fact that we're recording. And then I'll post the replays so you can still, hear the conversations. They should be very nourishing, enlightening conversations. That's what I'm hoping for. And so the other aspect of having it at noon, is it'll go through that noon portal, is how I see it. Noon is considered to be a medicine portal. And I'll quote an author. Her name is Tess Whitehurst. Noon can be useful for magic related to shining light into darkness and all forms of illumination, such as solving mysteries, fostering beneficial connections, and healing old wounds. It's very important. To me, healing in general means that we experience a powerful shift in our perception that comes from a divine illumination of your heart and brain, your mind. So, Moon's Day, 11 to 12:30 Arizona time. In the fall, that's Mountain Time. In the spring, it's Pacific Time. If you're a Facebook participant, the blog has the link to the Facebook group, and I will put that in the show notes. And then I'll be using the Zoom video meeting. So if you don't want to be seen and heard, again, just keep those off. And I chose to have people register just in case they prefer to get these Zoom reminders in their email instead of having to go on Facebook to find the link, or maybe they forget. And so if you register, then it'll just be there for you to get out of your own email. And let's see what my goal is to perhaps teach a concept aligned with either the dreams that I'm experiencing or the chapter that we're reading, or both. Maybe they're going to kind of be together, right? So this is going to be up to 15 minutes. It could be 1 minute, like here's an idea I had, or it could be up to 15 minutes. And the rest of the time, it'll be everybody sharing their dreams for the week, or what they're getting from the book, what's important to them, what's showing up for them in their book, and how it's applying to their life and their goals and their soul purpose and all of that fun stuff. So I decided to call it Sacred Dreamers Community Book Club. So there'll be spiritual books, and if somebody in group needs a drumming journey or some sort of meditation to help them with the dream they had, that's a possibility that may come up in group. And I just want everyone to feel supported in some way. So if that's something that's available and possible for us, then I'll go ahead and lead that. And then also, I will very likely be opening up with some sort of prayer or a chant or a song that can just kind of pull the energy together to focus on having a nice open heart and feeling loved and cared for. So the link is for the Zoom registration is in the blog also, and I'll put all this in the show notes. But my hope is that everybody feels fed from being in group and spiritually nourished and held. And it's really important to me that we all feel empowered, that we feel seen and heard and truly empowered to make decisions in our lives, to feel good about our decisions in our lives, to move forward in our purpose, and to help us to love the people in our lives better and more deeply and profoundly, and to heal ourselves. So may have to completely start with learning to love your own self, to know your own self. And my hope is that this book will bring us all there. So I believe Spirit will give us signs and divine guidance and community connections and celebrations every week. So this is my message in love, and I will see you on Mondays. Bye.